Hey there everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about proportions some more. Think of today kind of as proportions level 2. So let's get started. Our I can statement for today is I can identify and solve proportions. So let's keep going. Now we're going to focus on the method of cross multiplying. So that's the same thing as that butterfly method from yesterday. These problems are a little more complex. Yep. So here's what you do. Here are the steps if your proportion contains a binomial. What is a binomial? A binomial is an expression with two terms. You notice this root word bi means two, like bicycle. So a binomial is an expression with two terms. Like for example, this right here, a plus 3, that's a binomial. Or like x minus 6, that's a binomial. If you have just like 3x, that is not a binomial. This is one term. So an expression with two terms, those two terms have to be separated by a plus or minus sign. So if it's just two numbers that are being multiplied together, that's only one term. And again, a binomial is an expression with two terms. So x plus 6 or 3x minus 1, that's a binomial. Or 4 plus p, that's a binomial. All three of these are examples of binomials. Okay, let's keep going. You're going to put all binomials in parentheses. Parentheses. There we go. And then next step, step 2, is to cross multiply. And then step 3 is to distribute and solve. So if you've forgotten how to distribute, don't worry, I will go over distribution also. But let's start with step 1. Okay, so, well, let's just go to example 4. Solve for the variable in the proportion. That variable in this case is a, right? So the variable is always that letter. Round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Okay, so let's look at a. You have 4 over a plus 3 equals 2 over 4. So step 1 is to put all binomials in parentheses. Okay, so that's just a number, that's just a number, that's just a number, but this is a binomial, so let's put it in parentheses. Cool, now we're going to cross multiply. So let's draw our little butterfly. We're circling in a diagonal pattern is what we're doing. Okay, now the numbers in circles get multiplied to each other, okay? So we're going to have 4 times 4. I'll write that right here. And then write your equal sign. And then you write the numbers that are multiplying by each other in the second circle. In this case, you've got a 2, and then in parentheses, you have a plus 3. So I'm going to write it like this, 2 parentheses a plus 3. So multiplication is given here because you have the 2 right next to the parentheses. So this is a situation where hopefully you're recognizing that you are going to need to distribute. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Let's go ahead and simplify the 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16 equals, okay, and now we're going to do our distributing. So to distribute, we're going to do 2 times a, so I just drew the one little arrow, and then we're going to add to that 2 times 3. So 2 times a is 2a, and then 2 times 3 is 6. It's a positive 6, so I'm going to do plus 6. And now we're left with this, which is just a two-step equation. When you have that two-step equation, you want to start with the number that is not attached to the variable. So in this case, the 6 is going to go bye-bye first. We're going to get rid of it by subtracting it in this case. And that goes to 0. Here, 16 minus 6 gives us 10 equals, bring down the 2a. Now, how do we get rid of the 2? Right now it's multiplying. We want to do the opposite, which is dividing. So divide by 2 on both sides. The 2 will go away there, and 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. So 5 equals a. And we had just solved this kind of crazy looking proportion. So that's how we do it. Let's do another example. We're going to skip example B. Let's go to example C. It's looking a little messy here. I'm just going to divide that there. Okay. So step 1, put binomials in parentheses. Okay, so looking for binomials here. It looks like we've got one right there. Okay, we've got our parentheses. Step 2, cross multiply. So I'm going to draw my little circles, draw my butterfly like that. And then that. It's kind of harder to circle where the binomial is, but just make it work. So again, like I said yesterday, it doesn't matter which circle you start with. Last time we started with this one, So this time we'll start with this one. How about that? So 10 times 7, 10 times 7, and then you're going to write equals, and then you're going to do that number times that number. When I'm distributing, I always like to have the number in front of the parentheses, so I'm going to write the 5 first, and then I'm going to write the parentheses, the binomial. You could put the 5 at the end. I just think it looks a little bit unusual, but you would still distribute it the same way. Okay, so let's simplify. 10 times 7 is 70. And now let's distribute 5 times n plus 5 times 5 times 10. So 5 times n gives us 5n. And 5 times 10 equals 50. It's going to be a positive 50, so we'll write plus 50. Okay, and now we've got our same kind of two-step equation. Let's solve it by subtracting 50 from both sides. You're left with 20 equals 5n, and then you just divide by the 5 to get rid of the 5. And you're left with, let's see, 20 divided by 5 is 4. So n is going to equal 4 there. Okay, so just in case you don't think these are quite enough fun, we have a proportion here with decimals. Yay! So we're just kind of kicking it up one more little notch, but you get to use calculators, so it's going to be all good. Where is our binomial here? If you said right here, then you are correct. Good work. b minus 2 is our binomial. Let's go ahead and do our circles for the cross multiplying. There's one there, and there's one there. These circles should always be diagonal. I'm going to do this circle first, but if you want to start with the other one, that's fine. And I'm going to put my number in front of my parentheses. So I'm going to do 2.5 parentheses b minus 2. And that is going to equal that times that. 2.1 times 3.75. Okay, let's do some simplifying now. So 2.5 times b minus 2.5 times 2. The reason I said minus is the minus sign here. Let me talk you through that a little bit better too, though. But first, 2.5 times b, we can answer that one as 2.5b. Don't need a calculator for that. Now what about 2.5 times negative 2? Let's use a calculator. If you want to do it in your head, that's fine, but you don't have to. 2.5 times negative 2 is going to give us negative 5. Now because it's negative 5, I'm going to write minus 5 instead of plus 5. So if it had been positive, I would have a plus there. But since it's a negative number, I'm going to have a minus there. Now let's simplify what's over here on the right-hand side of the equation. Looks like we've got 2.1 times 3.75, which is 7.875. Okay, let's keep simplifying. Now we have a nice two-step equation with our rational numbers. Let's go ahead and add the 5 to both sides to get rid of it. Use your calculator if you want. Looks like that's going to be 2.5b equals 12.875. And now we just have to divide everything by that 2.5 to make that 2.5 go away. So that's going to go away and we're going to be left with b equals, let's use our calculator for this, 12.875 divided by 2.5, 5.15. And that's our answer. It says to round to the nearest hundredth. It looks like we only have 2 decimal places, so we don't need to round. It's already at the nearest hundredths. It's at the precise hundredth, I guess. But let's read what's in this box here. It says, remember, we only round at the very end of the problem. And I love that he wrote this because this is such an important thing to remember. We only round at the end of the problem because rounding too soon introduces error. So looking at our problem, see this number here? Maybe it might be tempting to round this to the nearest hundredth because the instructions say to round the answer to the nearest hundredth. But you never want to round this stuff until you're at the very last step because otherwise it can throw some things off. So yeah, there's that. We're not going to worry about this problem at the end. When you look at your assignment, I'm going to have you do most of it, but not all of it, okay? You're going to be skipping the ones that are X'd out. So you're skipping 3. You're skipping 8. Let me try to go to the next page here. You're also skipping 12, 15, and then you can skip this bottom section. So I believe that leaves you with 12 proportion problems. If you have any questions, let me know. Join a Zoom or send me an email, and I'd love to help. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.